welcome to International Bakery Live. I'm Joseph Clark, the editor of International Bakery magazine, and in this exclusive interview I'm joined by Frederic Fernandes, who is the product manager functional proteins at Benio. Hello, Frederic.
Hello, Joseph.
Thank you very much for joining us. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and also Benio?
Okay, yeah, happy to do so. So my name is Frederic Fernandes indeed. I'm a product manager at Benio, product manager for the functional proteins product line. So at Benio, I'm focusing actually on the Faba bean development, commercial strategy for the Faba beans, and also ensuring that the sales have the right tool to get the Faba bean products into the market. And actually, Beneo is a global player in the plant-based industry. So Beneo actually harnesses the power of different plants to get all kinds of different plant ingredients out of them. So like chicory, sugar beets, and also recently Faba bean. And we market it actually worldwide. We have different factories, and we are also falling under the Südzucker Group.
Well, it's a fantastic topic, and we're very happy to have you here with us today to talk about this further. Could you tell us about the journey that led Benio to explore Faba bean protein as an alternative to eggs?
Yeah, sure. So there are actually different aspects to this story. So of course, first what we saw is that there is increasing demand for plant-based ingredients throughout the world. And secondly, there is of course a big emphasis on sustainability and climate change. So the increased demand for plant-based product was really something that catch our eye. We are already producing different rice proteins for the moment, but customers were also looking for alternatives to the soy and pea proteins that you can find in the market. Soy and pea proteins usually get imported from outside of Europe, so they don't really have a very sustainable connotation to them. And that's why we actually went investigating what possibilities you would have to also make a plant-based protein available that actually can match the qualities of soy and pea. And Faba bean was actually an excellent candidate for this. Also looking at the sustainability story that Faba can bring, it was really the best candidate for us to grow this Faba bean crop in Germany and also produce it in Germany.
Well, I imagine there are many benefits to utilising plant-based alternatives, as we will explore later on in this interview. Before we get to that point, could you tell us about some of the challenges that you faced when incorporating Faba bean protein into your existing recipes, and also how you overcame them?
Yeah, indeed. So, of course, there are a lot of different challenges that you have when trying to replace the original animal proteins by plant-based proteins. Luckily, we have the Beneo Technology Center for this, so we have a lot of experts that are working on these applications and what nuances are needed to actually be able to successfully replace these proteins. And specifically, when looking at the bakery sector, I think the most important one to replace is, of course, eggs. As you know, eggs have a really multifunctional impact. They have actually capabilities for foaming, texturizing, emulsification. I mean, a lot of different aspects that eggs bring to the table. And luckily, when looking at our Faba bean protein concentrate, we also see that a lot of these functionalities also come to the table. So Faba bean protein concentrate also has excellent foaming properties, emulsification, and texturizing properties. On top of that, the flavor is quite neutral, so it can be incorporated without too much off taste. And it was actually quite easy to replace these eggs. Of course, there is a lot of expertise required, but like I said, the Beneo Technology Center colleagues are really well known in this field. And we have developed in the meantime already many different recipes where we replace egg protein. So we have an egg-free muffin where we do, for example, a complete replacement of the eggs. But we also have a hybrid concept, a pound cake, where we do 25% or 50% egg replacement to also showcase that partial replacement is also possible. And the nice thing that we concluded with all the testing in the last year is that Faba bean protein concentrate can actually be a replacement for whole eggs, egg whites, and egg yolks alike. So it's very flexible. And on top of that, it's a clean label product that also has some cost reduction benefit.
Well, I think you've managed to sort of naturally transition from the more negative side, the challenges, into the benefits. So I'd like to explore those a little bit further with you now. How does the texture, taste, and overall quality of bakery products change when replacing eggs with Faba bean protein?
Well, of course, it all depends on the specific application that you are doing. And also if you're doing partial replacement or if you're doing a complete replacement. Like I said, the good thing again of our Faba bean protein is that the applications that we can, the functionalities that we bring to the table are quite similar. So we have emulsifying, foaming, thickening, and binding properties. But of course, there were a lot of challenges that came, and there are a lot of nuances that happen when you replace the eggs. So for that, you usually need to look to some alternative ingredients that you need to add. But an important thing for Beneo still is to be able to give a clean label product, to give a natural product, because naturalness is still very important for the consumer, certainly looking at the plant-based market. So we really try to steer away from, I would say, the chemical adhesive or the addition of things that are not natural. So usually when we try to do replacement, it's really with a mix of water and sugar to find a real nice balance to still do a good replacement of the egg. And also important to state is that when we do an egg replacement, it's never a one-on-one replacement. So it doesn't mean that if you have 10 grams of eggs that you need to replace with 10 grams of Faba bean protein concentrate. Usually you need to have less protein concentrate with the addition of some water and sugar. To achieve the same effect as the eggs. And due to the fact that you need to use less protein, you can also achieve a cost reduction. That's always nice.
I'm going to touch upon that now, actually, the cost reduction element. In terms of stricter legislation leading to, in this case, a possible rise in egg prices, how would you say that the switch to fava bean protein has impacted your cost structure and pricing strategy?
So with that regard, the thing is indeed there is a big increase in egg prices that happened in the last 2 years. I would say in the last months it had more and more stabilized, but that was also one thing that piqued our interest to really look at these animal protein replacements. The regulations are getting stricter and stricter. And what we see is that what we can really offer to the client, it's not only the cost reduction, but it's really a stable pricing. Due to all the different regulations on farming and also on sustainability and climate change that farmers need to take into account when producing these eggs, we can really offer the producers actually a stable pricing with our ingredient, because the sourcing of plant-based ingredients is much more stable compared to the sourcing of these animal counterparts. And I think that next to the cost reduction, the stability of the pricing is one of the important things that we will try to bring to the table.
I think you've outlined quite a list of the benefits to the fava bean protein. How would you say that your customers have responded to the introduction of egg-free products? And have you noticed a change in consumer preferences as well?
Yeah. Like I said, indeed, the consumer and the change in consumer behavior is one of the reasons that we actually did a big focus on egg replacement, as we really wanted to be ahead of the market and together with the price increases. And one thing that we saw is indeed with animal welfare is also a very important topic for consumers. And it's not all about sustainability and naturalness, but consumers also are aware about the conditions these animals are being put in to produce these eggs. It's not only eggs, it's also like milk, dairy is also a good example. And what we see from our surveys is actually almost 40% of the consumers are now trying to avoid these eggs from batteries, and while even 13% is refusing to eat them at all. So there's a big shift in the preferences from consumers. And on top of that, next to these ethical animal questions, you always also have the health benefit. We see also a big trend in consumers that they steer away from animal proteins to plant-based proteins because they think there are a lot of health benefits with it. And they are actually correct. You have like less sugar in health in plant-based proteins, and also the cholesterol is lower. So there are certainly some arguments to be made. And I would say it's really a combination of one, the animal welfare, and also the health benefits that consumers are now looking more and more to plant-based solutions.
You mentioned there that consumers are very much aware of the health benefits, sustainability, and also, increased animal welfare. Do you think there is still room to educate customers? Do you think that customers do still need to be educated around these benefits? And what strategies are you using to educate your customers?
Well, so there are of course different aspects that we do when looking at our customers. Like we are a B2B company, so looking at the businesses we interact with, we have the technology center again and our technical colleagues that do a lot of educations and presentations and customer visits. Also together with the producers, they go to the end producers to do visits together to explain our different ingredients and how they can be incorporated in their end products. And that's one of the important things I would say. Another thing is that, of course, what we see is with the price increases in eggs, is that consumers are coming to ourselves because they want to have this price stabilization in their recipes, and it's actually more a fact of hedging against the future. There is a lot of uncertainty happening in the market with regards to all these animal products. Certainly, looking specifically in Europe, there are strict regulations on egg batteries, and they will actually get stricter in the future. And actually, by hedging against the future, by already incorporating ingredients like our fava bean protein in the products that they have in the market today, they can already start testing how to implement them and be ready for the future when the egg prices are actually further increasing. And that's actually the idea is to make sure that our consumers are prepared, the producers that we work with are prepared for this future that is happening, and that they can already hedge their recipes against the future.
And when it comes to regulations that you've just touched upon there, how does using fava bean protein help your bakery comply with current and anticipated European regulations on egg production?
So, like I actually already touched briefly previously, there are two aspects on this. So, on one hand, you have, of course, the whole animal welfare part, where indeed going more onto the plant-based will ensure that less chickens are being put in these harmful conditions to produce the amount of eggs that we are needing today. And secondly, the big part is the sustainability part. Again, Beneo really focused on faba bean against pea and soy because of the sustainability story that it can bring. On one hand, we are building on our factory now in Offstein, Germany, closely located to all the different farmers that are producing our faba bean. So there is a very close supply chain there. Secondly, as well, the process that we are using to make our fava bean ingredients actually dry fractionation. So there's a very simple process compared to the wet fractionations that most of the proteins, plant-based proteins on the market are being produced with. Dry fractionation actually doesn't require any water, and the energy that we use is actually coming from renewable sources. So on top of that, there is no heating step compared to the wet process. So it's a very actually clean label and sustainable way of producing faba bean protein. So together with the animal welfare part, we can really bring a more sustainable and future-proof solutions to the client.
Yeah, I think given the fact that, energy efficiency and sustainability are huge keywords, not just in this industry, but in across all industries, that's really interesting what you've just mentioned there. Could you discuss this in a bit more detail, possibly the sustainability benefits of using the fava bean protein over eggs, for example?
Yeah, happy to do so. So we call it actually our farm to fork sustainability story. So you have actually, again, three aspects to this story. So first you have the raw material itself, faba bean. So faba bean being actually a legume, can do nitrogen fixation. So it can fixate its own nitrogen out of the air, actually making sure that you require less nitrogen fertilization during the farming of the crop. On top of that, it's actually a great crop for crop rotation. So farmers are very happy to incorporate this crop into their crop rotation plan. It will actually improve the soil structure and, of course, add extra nitrogen by fixating it out of the air. And also nice if you compare it to the regular crops that are being grown in Europe. The flowers of faba bean has a lot of nectar, so it increases biodiversity as well. So that's really on the raw material side already a very sustainable story that we can bring to the table. And again, like I touched previously, the production, being dry fractionation, is also a quite sustainable process compared to the other processes that are being used in the market today. Combining these two actually brings us to a plant-based product that, of course, in its own is also more sustainable, because we want to steer away from these less sustainable food systems that are using actually animal protein, because, of course, animal protein production requires a lot of agricultural fields that are being grown as well to provide feed for these animals. So by closing this chain a little bit shorter, we can actually contribute to a more sustainable food system with our faba bean ingredients.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. And Frederic, just to talk about the future and moving forwards, given the dynamic nature of food regulations and consumer trends, how do you plan to continue innovating with fava bean protein in your recipes?
Oh, well, that's of course a story, I would say, and a question that many different answers can be given to. But I can clearly state that at Beneo we are daily into the business of finding new ways of implementing our ingredients into the different types of products that we have. So it's not only about bakery, we are also investing in all kinds of different applications fields that are very important to our consumers. And what we see recently is that there has really been a steep increase in the demand for bakery, dairy, and egg alternatives. So really, these are the fields that we see that more and more fava beans are being incorporated in fava bean ingredients, and these are also the fields that we are investigating with Beneo. So every day we have some new recipes that are being tested. Also, our clients have access actually to my Beneo net, where all kinds of different recipes are being uploaded on a weekly basis. And we also try to inform all our clients with newsletters and also through our sales teams with all the new developments that are happening so that they're actually ahead of the field. As Beneo is really good in following the trends and making sure that they are ahead of the trends.
And just finally, Frederic, what advice would you give to other people working in the bakery industry that might be considering the transition to plant-based ingredients like fava bean protein due to regulatory and economic pressures, perhaps?
Yeah, I would say now is really the time to start investigating at least. So don't wait any longer. It's like I said previously, it's all about hedging against the future. There is a lot of uncertainty. Certainly with the climate change, we know stricter regulations are coming. We know that farmers will be forced to find more sustainable way to actually produce their animal products. And more sustainable ways, of course, usually means that they will be less cost effective. So there will be a cost increase that will be calculated to the producers and finally to the end consumers. And by already now starting to investigate how to incorporate these plant-based ingredients in the different products that they have, it's actually already a way to hedge against the future and make sure that when actually the prices get not any more supportable for eggs, that they can easily do the transition to the plant-based alternatives. And like I said, it's not always about complete replacement. You can also find hybrid concepts where you can do a partial replacement of the eggs without even noticing any difference in your end product. But of course, this all requires a lot of expertise and a lot of, I would say, testing, and that takes time. So it's good for them to already start now, and that they can do by contacting Beneo, as we have the expertise and we are always happy to help.
Well, thank you very much once again, Frederic. It's been really insightful and I think encouraging to hear that you have successfully implemented, plant-based alternatives and therefore are offering a healthier alternative to humans, to animals, and also to the environment. So thank you very much for joining us at International Bakery Live.
Thank you, Joseph. Very interesting questions as well. And was very happy to be able to give you the answers. And I hope that the readers are also enjoying the answers. So thank you for having this opportunity.
Thank you again. And for anyone watching, if you have any questions, you can reach out to Frederic on the platform and he'll be happy to help you with your questions.